Hello everyone. So today we're watching 3D Printer Academy's video, fastest 3D printed gearbox ever. Go subscribe to their channel. Very interesting content. And why is this not loading? See if I can get it to go on 360. Got my Lipton tea, not sponsored. There it goes.
Gearbox to spin. One challenge
What?
has been particularly difficult to solve, getting a 3D printed gearbox to spin extremely
Okay.
fast. So in this video, we
Good
only
goal.
have one focus: speed. It'll be powered by this beefy 350 watt DC motor, variable speed
Very nice.
controller, 24 volts with extra long wires for safety. I've quickly replicated the DC motor in Fusion 360, but how exactly should we approach this design? Let's start off with testing the DC motor. The DC motor speed controller is really simple. Connect the positive and negative of your DC motor to one side.
Easy, simple
and
enough.
the positive and negative of your power source to the other side. We can measure the actual speed of the motor using some reflective tape and a tachometer. So it looks like with no load we could get about 3,300 RPM.
That's pretty good.
With 3,300 RPM, we could use a gear ratio to up the speed. 4:1 gives us 13,000. Let's try 20:1 gear ratio equals 66,000. 25 equals 82.
So basically, I think the bigger the number on this side, so 25:1, every time source spins around, the output spins 25 times. And if it's the other way, it'll take 25 times a turn just once. That'll be like a really high torque but low speed ratio. The higher up the gear ratio you go on this side, the less torque you have but the higher speed. That's why you have a lower gear to switch into a higher gear in normal cars.
2,000, 30 gives us 99,000, and 32:1 gear ratio will give us over 100,000 RPM. But can we actually get it to spin that fast?
Nope. .3D printers take so long.
The metal rods fit snugly in the holes to keep them from slipping out, and the DC motor is bolted to the base.
Simple enough.
The main drive gear easily attaches to the motor's axle with a hex nut. So here's basically how it works. This big gear meshes with a small gear, which makes it go faster. Then we have another big gear meshed with another small gear, which makes it go even faster. And another big gear meshed with a smaller gear, which makes it go even faster, and all the way down until we get to the very last gear. So basically with the drive gear, it gets faster and faster and faster, all the way until we get to this tiny little gear on the end, which should go extremely fast.
Okay.
And as you can tell, the axles fit very snug. This is exactly what we want.
No play. The less play you have, the better. Let's test it. Beholdeth. Okay. Gotta have the logo in there. Where did I set up this guy has? Pretty nice. A little bit of oil. There's so much play on those later gears. Now the vibrations.
So as we slowly increase the speed, there comes a point where the motor actually stalls. With 5 gears, there's simply too much friction. However, we did get to about 11,000 RPM. For this next test, let's go ahead and remove the last gear and see how fast it'll spin. Right here, it's spinning about 21,000 RPM before it shuts off. Let's go ahead and try it again.
Already with no real modifications, really spinning
This
real
time it
good.
got close to 23,000 RPM. And I'm calculating this by measuring the speed of the input gear and multiplying it by the gear ratio. That gives us the output speed of the last gear.
How do you do gear ratio? Do you count the teeth? Or the amount of gears? Or something like that.
This time the drive gear got up to 1449. Let's plug that into our calculator. So this time we get 40,000 RPM. But what would happen if we remove one more gear? So as you can see, the RPM is able to get a lot higher, this time about 3482. But
That's
because
pretty
we
good.
removed a gear, we have to change the gear ratio. Let's plug in at 3482, and we get the drive gear speed times the gear ratio is 43525. So the lesson that we could learn here is that just because you have a really high gear ratio doesn't mean you can get the last gear to spin extremely fast. It would actually be much easier to get a gear to spin fast by using a really fast motor. For example, this motor already spins at 35,000 RPM. So just with a 2-to-1 gear ratio, it'll spin 70,000 RPM. So for now, we'll have to stick to our new record of 43,525 RPM.
It would have been really cool if you got it up there to at least 50, you know?
This video was made possible by our friends over at Micro Center.
4 months ago. Let's see if he ever made a part 2 to this. Probably not. Oh, subscribe. Go subscribe to this guy. He makes really cool stuff, looks like. Anyways, so this has been Dreammaster, and I'll see y'all next time.